Welcome to the Rimm-PODCAST, episode 39. This is the podcast, either you are a lawyer, politician, governor, influential, spiritual leader, community leader, to come here together to care and share within the community. Today we really got a special guest, probably one of the most influential attorney out there. I did so much research on him. I love what he does for our community, for our country. I would go rather ask him what he has not accomplished on his life. He accomplished so many things. His name is Mark E. NeJame, and from the NeJame Law firm. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your house looks beautiful. Your residency looks beautiful.
Thank you.
But you look great.
Thank you.
Look influential. And this is what I do the way I do. I know you, one day, we're going to leave the stories behind us. And I want to interview you about you and your story. By the way, you also have a beautiful family, and that's what all the family is about. I know how you started 10 years old, fighting on the way out, supporting your family, and then building the loan business and selling that out, and paying off your college, and graduating from the bachelor's degree and a JD from the UF. And before you even know, we're sitting here.
Are you a member of the CIA?
Yes. No, I'm not.
Okay.
But I do a lot of research, and I want to make sure I'm prepared. It's a beautiful story, inspirable story, and welcome to the podcast show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Your family, what you do for our community, it's just inspirable. I want to go a little bit more what way you went through the life. And I want to share those stories, like I said, when we leave this earth. So that way we have a lot of people who are following us. My first question, what was one of the most important thing while growing up that you learned about yourself?
Well, that's a complex question with an even more complex answer. But my story is like so many others. People don't really know other people's stories, and I think all issues in life are childhood issues. Everything comes from your childhood, and what forms and develops you usually comes from your childhood. I was surrounded by much love with my mother and my grandmother. My mother passed away April 28th, 2 years ago, and I miss her deeply and dearly. And my grandmother I was very close with as well, and we lived, my two sisters and I lived with them. My father was out of the picture from the time I was about 10 years old. He was an alcoholic, and with the disease of alcoholism, he had a lot of issues. And so when my parents separated when I was 10, there was no child support. My father was really pretty much out of the picture. And I think that, those areas, his alcoholism, his absence from the family, being raised by a mother and a grandmother, and two other females in the home, all those components together, help form you at a very early age. So I think those areas, without even necessarily a consciousness of it at the time, you look back and you see how that strongly influenced the paths and the directions and the morals and the values, the character. There wasn't much money. It was a duplex with, all of us living there and no child support. But, you learn love and you learn hard work and, adversities that occur in life, but you can turn them into positives.
Nice. So after you learn all of that, you went through an entire story. You can look it up, the chapter behind your life. And you actually being out of 40 years in your career as an attorney, out of 25 years you spent in the defense attorney. Can you telling us, future attorneys, what it takes to be you? And what the suggestion you will give it to them that's not entitled? We have to do hard work. Can you share for future attorney, future leaders, future generations?
You have to have a commitment, and you really can't teach compassion. So many people are singularly money motivated. The money will come if you find what you like to do, what you love to do, make that your passion, and then you're getting paid for having a good time.
That's it.
The challenge is doing something that you don't like, staying stuck in that, which is so true for so many people, and some people really have a difficult time getting out of that, and I understand that. Not everybody has the luxury of pivoting or switching, but you have to really love what you do. And I really loved being a trial lawyer at the earlier stages of my career. worked 80 hours a week, still work 80 hours a week, but was really focused on the law at that point of my life. And I was always an entrepreneur, so I developed other areas as well. But you realize that you have to be committed to your client, your cause, be ethical, but work harder than everybody. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, person in the room, but it's impossible to outwork me. Just not possible. And I think if you have that commitment to doing whatever you need to do legally and ethically, you'll accomplish the goals and your name will be made and you'll do well for your clients.
Okay. So after the years of being an attorney, representing from small to the top one, I don't have to go through all of them. It's all out there, very well respected. If you can do one thing in our legal system here that we live, make the place better world to live, what would you do? How would you do it? And why would you do it?
The legal system, like so many other industries, and it is one, it becomes uncontrollable in some ways. There's a lot of very good people who are lawyers, and there's of course some who are not. But the fact is that legal services are unattainable for so many people. It's expensive, and it becomes where good legal representation is often dependent upon what you can afford. And we probably turn down 9 out of 10 calls that come into our office. Actually, I know we do. We keep statistics. And many times it's because it's not a valid case or whatever, but many times it's simply because people can't afford it. So what we've done recently, actually, in our personal injury division is we reduced our fees by 10% for all of our personal injury cases this year. And that makes a difference. It puts money back into people's pockets. But most people simply cannot afford good legal representation. And those who can often have the advantage because they can afford to keep their lawyers going when the other side can't. And that's just not fair. I've seen it happen all my entire career.
Nice. So being as a lawyer for 40 almost plus years, what is one of the biggest compliments you have ever received?
Get them frequently. I got it the other day. A gentleman, he was sitting at a table. I was at a little social type of thing. And I was talking to other people at his table. He goes, "You represented me." He said, "You saved my life."
Yeah, well,
I didn't recognize him. This was 30 years ago.
yeah, wow.
He said, "You saved my life." He goes, "It was the best $2,500. He even remembered he paid me $2,500 30 years ago. It was the best $2,500 I ever spent in my life. He goes, and those things make a difference.
Yes, it does.
I have a business deal that I'm involved in right now. And probably the same time, 25 years ago, this person was running with the wrong crowd, being investigated, all went away. And today he's a minister, he's a father, great husband, business person. We've done business with each other. Nice. He had nothing to offer me at the time, but we became friends. He was just a wonderful person. He was young and dumb, happens to many.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
And learned life's lessons early. And today he's a wonderful human. I mean, he was always a wonderful human being, but today he's a successful person. And when you see that you've helped make a difference in somebody's life, either helping getting them in treatment, or that they might have had this or that adversity they were facing, and you helped get them through it, and then they learn their lesson and move forward, that carries you. The money, the attention, all that. Those are wonderful things,
yes.
but they don't sustain you. What sustains you in life is doing good, love, helping, and that's the stuff that you remember.
Nice. So after you represent thousands and tens of thousands of clients, if there is a particular case that touch your heart.
Yeah, there's too many.
Too many.
There's too many. They really are. Every case has a story.
Yes.
Every person has a story, and those stories are unique to them. And I found that people are not just typically all good or all bad. We're human.
Yeah,
and even those sometimes accused of the worst or having done something that society has frowned on, you find goodness. You look for that because you want to help build that and you want to help move that forward. Now, it's not always true with everybody. There's some out there that sadly are pretty much unsalvageable. But most people, given an opportunity to turn their life around, to make a difference, to reflect, they do.
Nice. So now being a successful attorney, is there was one particular case or couple cases that you become so successful, or your life of story, the way you're coming from? And like you said, everybody have the story. But at one particular moment, you change your practice, entire practice, the way you practice. I know ethics are important, but then it's like, I love to imaginations. This is the way I'm going to run the practice moving forward. I know you being a really successful criminal defense attorney, but then later on you start swadding up on immigration, personal injury, and so on. At what particular point at your life you decide and said, this is my case moving forward, the vision, a new mission will be?
Well, it's really a process. You know, I started out as a criminal defense lawyer, worked till 10 o'clock every night, never took a lunch for the first 10 years. And then I ended up, when my children came, I realized that I did not really want to, so I started expanding. I'd gotten a bit older, and I started expanding and realized that there were other areas. We were fortunate to be blessed with a big name. And so we used that to expand into other areas of the law. And with that, we simply created a full-service litigation firm that allowed us to expand and to grow into other areas and help other people in other areas. So now we have civil litigation, criminal, and a large focus on personal injury, all of which we can help people and do. But it was more of a process rather than a moment.
Okay, it's a process. So it takes a while to process up. The reason I'm doing this and asking a question, because a lot of times we get off the colleges and we expect miracle happens over the night. Doesn't happen. It's a hard work and a dedication. But we need to share that with them so they know what to expect to become you. My last question, and then we have a free question for you. What is your typical day being you in the law firm? If you can share with the future generations.
Well, a typical day is I run the law firm.
Okay.
I handle some cases, and I always have my partners or one of my other lawyers working with me on the cases that we handle. But, you know, we get an endless array of emails. I mean, between my law firm and other businesses, I might literally get as many as 2,000 emails, texts, and calls a day. And so I've got a great team that helps keep me going. I'm very dedicated to my family. They come first. But I'm fortunate with a tremendous amount of energy. I haven't had red meat, alcohol, caffeine, or deep fried food in over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I have a trainer that comes by every morning. And so I stay healthy, and that allows me to really work, but still to, you know, maintain my family obligations, which are not obligations, they're pleasures. But then to be able to do the work for the client that is demanded.
Okay. Like I said, our last question, if you can look it up in camera for our future generation, who knows when this hit's gonna go, but kids are looking the video and successful stories behind you. What one good piece of advice, not just here in the United States, but worldwide, you can give it to them and said, this is what you gotta do to stay out of the trouble, and being a defensive attorney for a year, seeing everything, probably you saw everything. How should we prevent a future generation and staying from the trouble and actually being successful like you are?
You've got to be good. You've got to be a good person. You know, I know people that are wealthier than me. I've been blessed immeasurably, but who are maybe more influential, but they're miserable human beings because they don't give back. You've got to give back. My wife and I founded the largest charity event in Central Florida for children with pediatric cancer, and we're involved in many humanitarian type of giving back. That's what sustains you. So work hard, which is cliche, but you have to work hard. But love what you're doing. And if you don't love it, if you don't find a path, not every minute of every day will you love it, but you have to know that you've got a passion for it. Because then, as I said before, you're getting paid for having a good time. And so then you can outwork everybody. If they're smarter than you, if they're better looking than you, if they're taller than you, which everybody's taller than me, then it doesn't make any difference, because you go ahead and you're following your heart, you're following your passion. The money will flow, and then give back. And there are spiritual laws of the universe. The universe will give back to you if you're giving.
Yes.
But if you're hoarding and you're keeping it all, live and die miserable. You might have all the money, you might have all the power, but if you're not happy, then what's the sense?
And like you said, I know you are so successful, but the most important thing, you are a family man.
It's everything.
And what the family means to you?
It's everything.
Everything.
It's everything. I miss nothing. You either perpetuate the cycle or you break it. My father was out of the picture from the time I was 10. I've forgiven him, I've blessed him, but he was an alcoholic who was not around. And so you either find, just like an abuser or an addict or anybody, or somebody that comes from a functional family or a positive environment, you either perpetuate that cycle or you break it. And that's a choice.
Okay.
And that's why you see abusers continuing to abuse, or you see other people who've been abused say, I'm never going to let that happen. That you see people coming from drug-addicted backgrounds. They go, that was their normal, so they could easily go into that. Or you can say, I'm never going to do that. And so that becomes the choice. Although it's always not so simple because some of these are addiction issues and all. But get the treatment, get the help. Don't, move your ego out of the way. Ego stands for edging God out, EGO.
Okay.
And I used to confuse that. I used to think that self-esteem and ego were the same thing. And they're not. They're actually inversely proportional to one another. The larger your ego, the smaller your self-esteem.
Okay.
The larger your self-esteem, the smaller your ego.
Okay.
And when you realize that it's not all about you, but you have an obligation to give back, then it all falls into order.
Okay.
And so be happy, work hard, do good, pay it forward.
And surround yourself with positive people. Yeah. So thank you guys. This is the episode 39. Our special guest is the Marquis NeJame from the NeJame Law firm. And thank you so much for actually recording here at your residency. It's a beautiful house, beautiful family, beautiful human being.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to meeting you. And God put me in touch with you. I am so blessed to knowing you. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on our show.
Exude positiveness. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. God bless you for everything
You
you have done for us. Thank you, guys, for keep
y'all.
share, love, community bringing together from the residency of the NeJame. Thank you.
Thank you.